Hello and welcome to the Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. I'm Stephanie Gaines-Bryant. Our guest today is Michelle Larkin. She's the author of the book Managing My Crown, a workbook to cultivating confidence and coping with change. You are also the COO of Faith to Felicity.
Yes.
And that is a store that's at the National Harbor.
Yes, it is.
Okay, We'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's start off by saying welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Super grateful. And I'm excited to see what's going to happen.
Now, what motivated you to write something about our crown?
Being a mentor for a long time, being a leader for a long time, mindset is something that is really something I've really seen as a major factor for success. And working with women, I realized that crown is a motif that we like. So I wanted us to move from not just wearing it to managing it and the territory that comes with it, the responsibilities that come with it.
How did your career help shape writing this book?
It was a part of like who you are, right? So moving in circles with leadership, always having started as a secretary, moving up to like, administrative partners and things like that, and now being a leader and a manager. They move strategically. They may not articulate it as strategy, but what you see is in trends and in success is that people are intentional. They are clear about what they're trying to achieve, and they understand how to get from others what they need to move their vision forward. And I actually internalized that and put it into practice through some of the really, really tough times in my life and proved out some steps and some paradigms, and so I put those in the book.
Did you find yourself one of very few minorities in the workspace?
Consistently.
How did you manage that?
Carefully, because you're being judged and evaluated constantly. At first it's pressure, and then it becomes an opportunity. If they're looking for information, then I'm going to put information into your space that will help me move where I want to go. So I put out what I want to get back. If you are going to watch me, I'm going to give you what you need to help me move my agenda forward.
What advice would you give to young women who are trying to navigate that space?
Trust what you feel, but validate it with information. Because there's some truth in both, but you need to move with intention, and they can't get clear until you take what you're feeling, because sometimes it's very uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable to be in spaces where you weren't prepared, or information you didn't have is making you look like you're unprepared. But there are some feelings that you can't put your fingers on, like microaggressions. Again, being the only Black person in a room, sometimes you get microaggressions and you can't put your finger on exactly what it is that offended you. But take that feeling, marinate on it, think about it, and start looking for patterns. Not necessarily to defend yourself in cocoon, but to use that information to inform the decisions that you're making about how you want to be perceived, what seat you want to sit in, how do you want people to create space for you versus you rush in and try to make space for yourself. All of these can be done, but it's intentional, and you got to just think and reflect. It's okay to not know everything, and it's okay to be uncertain, but pause, because that's actually information.
So you came into the workplace, we were talking before we went on air, and you told me you went into the workplace when you were a little older than most. And I'm sure that maturity helped.
Maturity and fear. I was fortunate enough to be able to stay at home and raise my children. So I was home for 8 years. I got married young, so I didn't get into the workplace till about 30. Yes, I was mature, but I also was having to know that I was the sole provider for my children. So I didn't have the luxury of failing in the workplace, right? Because there's nobody else. So couple that with being a minority in that space and the pressure of knowing that I can't necessarily rock the boat in the way that I want to, because I might risk losing something that will help me to sustain myself. Then I started to say, well, there's got to be another option. If I can't constantly combat the issues that come up, then how do I maneuver in this space? And so that's when I started to take lessons from how others are moving with power and position are really what are the currency of the workplace. And you can achieve it if you understand that social capital is really what is moving in that space and creating opportunities for growth.
Tell us about the book and how it's a workbook. It's not just a book, but it's a workbook. Tell us about that.
Well, managing my crown is about managing your mindset. It's not a TikTok 2-second work. You got to do the work of excavating the territory, assessing the value that's there, understanding the partners that are around you, understanding what you come with as your own natural gifts. But that's work. So I was like, well, I don't want people to just read a book and go, oh, that felt good. I want them to take the time to evaluate some as we go through the steps. Write down what you find out. And as you write it down, you discover your own patterns. Whether it's where your pattern of insecurity might come from, where your pattern of strength is, what do you do often? What triggers you? You don't notice that until you do the work of reflecting. And reflecting is work, and that's why I'm passionate about journaling.
How do you get started? Do you buy a journal? How do you get started? And I think that's half of it.
I think getting started is half of it. I think that's why the hook is managing my crown, because the queen motif is a big deal. Managing it is something that allows you to take responsibility. And to your point, first step is quiet. Write down whatever comes up. Don't judge it. Don't filter it. Don't have a perception of what is expected. Just put it on paper and then look at it. You don't know what you're going to find. When I was going through that, returning to the workforce and raising my children is when I got started with journaling, because there was nobody to talk to. And sometimes you need to get out of some of these thoughts outside of your head, right? Because we have our own vacuum. And then we start to analyze ourselves, and then we're stuck in a dark alley by ourselves in this space where we could be attacked and there's nobody to defend us because we've created this space. Why not put it outside of your head onto a piece of paper, let it sit for a second, come back and look at it as if you were talking to someone else and see what you see. The journey there is fantastic. You don't know, and it's fearful at first. It could be fearful, it could be happy, but you're safe because it's your words to yourself. This is you to you before you have to go to you to someone else. And that's where loving yourself starts from, right? Like if I can accept the uncomfortableness of myself with myself.
And that's what, for some people, that's what the silence can be. I teach mindfulness, and that silence can be very uncomfortable. That stillness can be very uncomfortable, especially we live in this noisy world.
Very noisy.
And we're attached to our phones. We're attached to, our computers. And everything is noise. So if you're used to noise, being quiet can be very, very difficult.
But that's also as a workbook. You don't know your voice. If you've listened, you've been stimulated, overstimulated, right? You don't really know your voice. You know what you've been told to think. You know what you've been exposed to. You know what other people think. Do you know what you think? Do you know what you believe? Do you know why you think what you think? Do you know if you're carrying a perception from your childhood that isn't quite accurate anymore because you are an adult? Are you carrying that as truth, but you haven't revisited it to make it contextually right for now? I say that because confidence is something that typically is rooted in a childhood issue. The lack of confidence typically comes from something someone said to you at some point in your formative years that you it's subconscious, but you keep acting like that's true, right? But is it true?
And as women, we're told to hold back. Ask a man a question about himself and they'll go on for 20 minutes.
You know it.
We don't want to, it's like we have a difficult time talking about ourselves, talking about our accomplishments. Let's just say in an interview setting or in a work setting, because we're geared as women to step back.
I am encouraging people to step back and review their own testimony because there's the source of your confidence. If you can look back and see all the things you've already overcome, then why you don't, and you stop questioning yourself, then you can show up in a room of men who are, peacocking, if you will, and appropriately insert the right word at the right time and get your point across. Because it's not I don't have to prove anything to any of you. I need to you to hear what I'm saying. So let me strategically pick the right moment, say what I have to say. Move on.
How do you begin making your dream manifest into reality? Whatever your dream is.
And I think that's what's so amazing about being human, is that we have the ability to create both with words and in our mind. I think that's what separates us from all other creatures. Of course, vision boarding is a place to start. Again, it's getting out of your head. Think of it like music. When you listen to someone play the piano, they heard it in their head before you hear it. And they took it from an idea to a reality to an experience. And that's what journaling is a process of. It takes it from your mind to your hands to something you can read, which informs your experience. And that is a process that gets better with time, which is why, again, it's a journal. Do it over and over again. Think about what you really want to do, be, or have. Write it in the tense of having, then read it. And because we are wired the way we are, we will go look for clues as to how to make that happen, because we magnetize ourselves to the answer. But that's just scripting. And you take a script and you go out. It's very no different than a job description. You get a job description when you start a job, then you start looking for ways to fulfill the job description. You write down your vision, you're gonna go looking for ways to fulfill it because it's something that you want. And it doesn't have to be in sequential order, because the universe doesn't have to be in sequential order. And you don't have to know everything.
Now, I met you through an interview I did for WTOP on vision boards.
Yes.
I was looking for a story to do for the first of the year, and I'm a vision boarder.
I'm a life vision boarder.
I wanted to bring that story to other people.
Thank you so much for that.
And it's so funny, the first person I called about it, she didn't get back to me. And so you guys were, and it was meant to be, you guys were the second people I contacted. And you're with Faith to Felicity.
Yes.
And it worked out. And then you told me during our interview about your book, and I said, I want you to come and talk about that. So I believe it was meant to be. Tell us about the importance of vision boarding.
So that whole story you just told was an expression of a vision board. On my vision board last year, I had said I wanted to step into purpose and be and start to actually provide the service, right? Do the work, do vision boarding sessions in live, right out of COVID. I wanted to say, write the book, get the message out. And I wanted to you can't move people if you can't be seen. So I didn't know how that was going to happen, but I asked God to help me raise my profile enough to attract people to the message so that more people could be impacted. And so Faith to Felicity is faith to happiness. Felicity means happiness. As COO, I work closely with Tony to work things, create events for the shop. Tony Tomlin to create events for the shop. And so we collaborated and said, let's do a vision boarding event, because that will bring people into the store so they can see the different tools that can help you move through your journey from faith to felicity. And then the vision boarding is the mindset that goes with the process of whether it's stones or sage or jewelry or beaded jewelry like these beautiful bracelets, which also came from Faith to Felicity, which are touch points along the way, right? So these are just reminders. When you pick stones that resonate with you and whatever you're thinking about at that moment, I know that this for me was about really getting my relationships in order, because I picked a stone that had to do with relationships. And so when I see this, I see happiness or trying to be happy with myself so that I can attract happiness. And I think about that. And so these vision boarding actually is an expression of becoming, right? And so it's ability to take out of your head, find images that align with what you want to become, put those on a board and set them up as your roadmap. And what our subconscious does is then go seek things that will help to make those things come true.
You know, it's funny. I told you I'm a lifelong vision boarder, and I put up this vision board for what later became a nonprofit.
You see?
And so I had the vision board up, and my kids would tease because they said, "Mama, your head is all backwards." But it doesn't matter. It mattered what the picture meant to me,
yep,
and how it made me feel, and what it wanted wanted me, what it prompted me to do
Yes.
to reach that goal.
Absolutely.
So you can take pictures out of magazines or whatever. How do you help us understand how to formulate that picture?
So the in a vision board workshop, before we get to the pictures, we want to get clear. To your point of quiet, right? So I take people, audible meditation, right? Because, it's quiet. So you got to focus on something. Well, I'll help you. So then we talk about, what are you feeling? What are you thinking? What comes up for you? And so just taking those few moments to pause and get in touch with what your soul wants, right? Then allows you to move into looking for the pictures. It comes much more naturally. If you just come cold from just outside, I'm just going to go pick some pictures, you will pick probably from the last thing you heard, whether it's your music or the last conversation you had or whatever. In order to do a really focused vision board, get clear for a moment. What does my soul want? And what will make me happiest? Because happy people move other people. To be honest, really happy people influence the world in the best possible way, and isn't that what we really want? So come from your happiness and from your joy, and that will help you to overcome any of the obstacles, because we do have pain and we do have challenges. So you typically don't put your challenge on the vision board, you put the resolution on the vision board. So I'm not saying to dismiss those, but if you were happy and all the things were resolved, what would that life look like? That's typically how you energize your vision board.
And then you go from there to
finding images has become more easier. At first it was magazines, and those no longer, we're in the digital space, right? So magazines don't you can't find them like they used to. There are places like Amazon where people actually are creating books of images for visioning, which is the easiest way to do it. There's also digital vision boards. You can use Canva. You can actually use your PowerPoint. I have one on the phone. I have one on my screensaver of my laptop. I have a vision board in my room from the pictures. You can use magazines. You can draw them. You can use affirmations. You do what makes you feel good. I like words. So in my house, you'll find on lots of walls, right? Words, because it's really like feeding your thoughts. So feed it good stuff so that every time your eye rests on something, it should have something that inspires, feeds, pushes, motivates, right? Passively. I'm not going to sit there and just read, but when my eye falls on something, it's motivating.
I guess the question is, where do you put it?
Where you can see it. So you could be anything, like you can have an affirmation on a mug, right? So I usually have a mug on my desk. Well, one of them says Queen's Moves, which is constantly keeping me focused on, you have a business to curate. And it exists, right? So what's cool about our mind is that it really can't tell the difference between an image and a reality, right? Like if you have created an image in your mind, you function like it's a reality, which is why athletes vision their whole performance before they get out on the field, because their body is like, well, we already did this, let's do it. And I feel like we need to understand the principle, the laws of the universe, because they are God's automation. And
what do you mean by that?
I think God put on, like gravity. Gravity is holding things down in here. We don't have to think about it. That's automated. If you give something, you'll receive something. You don't have that's an automation. If you plant something, you'll harvest. That's an automation. If with each action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. It's an automation. So why not use those to your advantage? Lean in to that. If I'm talking about being the only Black person in the room, that's a fact. So don't fight the fact. I'll say, okay, so if that's the truth, then how do I lean into the fact that comes with scrutiny? Great. So then what do I want them to see? Now if I know I'm going to be scrutinized, then instead of being a victim, like, why don't I create what I want them to see?
So there are a lot of different ways you can do this, whether it's, because I have I'm telling you, talking to
Curating
you is like
space.
Eating a delicious meal. I mean, you're just speaking my language with this, and it can come in the form of words, pictures.
Kinds of things.
Different places around the house. I have stuff in the basement. I have stuff in the bathroom.
You curated your space. You curated the space to create the mindset that will allow you to manifest the things that you want. Similarly, if you feed negativity all day, and I challenge people who watch the news all day, you're feeding a lot of negativity without balancing it with something else. But you're gonna carry that stress with you because you just programmed a lot of stress.
Well, that's what I do is news. And I remember it never really bothered me before until COVID. And you're reading death numbers. Every time you open up the microphone, who's dead in Virginia, who's dead in DC, who's dead in Maryland. And after a while, it started really getting to me. And I actually found myself, I never got COVID during that time, but I found myself having other physical issues because I was internalizing that. And I would walk up a flight of stairs, and if I was a little winded, because I knew it was a respiratory thing, is this it? Is COVID eating my lungs? I mean, really.
100%.
I really.
Because that's the information you were taking in. 100%.
So the point I'm making is if you feed yourself negativity, and some of us do 24/7, guess what the universe is going to send back to you?
That's why I want people to journal. If you put it on a piece of paper, you can tell whether it's negativity or not. When you're living it, you're immersed in it, you can't always tell. When you take your step back and you look at it, you're like, wait a minute, there's a lot of negative things in there. Oh, maybe that's why I'm feeling a certain way. But we need the space for perspective. And journaling just allows you space for perspective.
What do you want people to get from this book?
You are already royal. You were born with the ability to be autonomous and manage your space. You are already enough. So then let's take what God has given us, what we have, and let's work it to create the best possible empire around us so that we collaborate, expand, and spread the gifts and the space for people to operate in their gifts for those around us.
What was the process for you in writing this?
It was a vision board. It was a vision board, and then I put on the vision board a book, and then it's some merchandise, which I finally am getting some merchandise and a community. I put all that on there, and then I actually made a prototype. It was just fake, right? Like I put some thoughts in there. I printed it. It was just one. I printed one. I put it on my desk, and as if it was real. So I put it on my desk, and it wasn't even this cover or anything, but it was just the title. And it when I got this in the mail, I was like, oh my God. Because I didn't have a timeline. I want this done.
And what is the importance of that? Because you can't rush it. It has to come when it comes. What is the importance of patience?
First of all, tribulation works patience. So when you ask for patience, please know that you're going to get some other things. Similarly to a vision board, I tell people, don't say you want $1 million if you don't want the responsibility that comes with it. So personally, I started low. I only need like $20,000, right? Because I need to be able to manage that before we get to the million. I don't want all the scrutiny. I don't want to be a superstar tomorrow because I don't know if I can handle it. I want to incrementally grow to that space. So I think that the process of, did you say being quiet?
Yes.
Being quiet allows you to reflect and plan. And the unknown is the journey. So it's okay not to know and not to have a timeline. Because I was talking about this at the vision boarding. To make a vision board is the process of becoming the person that the vision board can receive. So the unknown is the journey to getting that. And what I love about vision boarding is you put it there and you leave it there. So I'm not worried about, I trust that I'm going to get that. So now I can enjoy the process of getting to that.
A lot of people feel like letting go, that's letting go of control.
Absolutely not.
And we want to be in control. We have to be in control of our life. We have to control.
Control and responsibility are not necessarily the same. I think we have to be responsible. We have to be aware. We have to be knowledgeable. We have to be intentional. We have to be clear. We were given this gift of time, space, and opportunity. Well, be responsible with it, or you waste it. I get that. But control puts yourself in the place of knowing all things so that you can maneuver for your best benefit, which is different than being inspired to move in this moment with the information I have. Because every moment we get new information. So I just need to worry about making the right decision today. I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I need to make sure I'm responsible for today and this moment. Like me saying yes to you was like, that's responsibility. It was an opportunity that aligned with my vision board. So it's my responsibility to clear this space, to communicate with the people who are depending on me to create this space, to, with intention, prepare to have this conversation. That is all critical to being successful.
Now, how has the store and the book and what you do kind of all work together?
I had the most wonderful privilege of walking by Face to Felicity at the National Harbor and being pulled in by a feeling and a curiosity. Toni Tomlin was there, we connected. She explained to me her journey, which was coming through a very difficult time in her life. She sought things that would help to motivate and ground her so that she could stay focused, to your point, right? Getting clear and making good decisions and letting go of control because her life was out of control at the moment. Well, she curated a whole space of all those things that helped her to get clear and to help her get through that. And I said, ooh, I do the same for your internal space. And so we connected. And because I have a business background and business operations, we connected on helping to expand her vision and create more opportunities for people to come through. Same for me. She's helping me to raise the profile of what I do so that more people can benefit.
Now, the book is available everywhere.
The book available on Amazon. It's available in Face to Felicity, the store, and on my website, managingmycrown.com.
And we're going to put that information at the end of the program, but it's on, the store is on the National Harbor.
Yes, it's at National Harbor, and it's right across from the Westin. It's at a beautiful corner, and it gets a lot of foot traffic. It's also a beautiful store. You got to stop by because it's an experience itself.
And I'm definitely going to do that because I want Toni to explain to me about the stones. I'm very curious now about stones. So I want to have a good conversation with her about stones and how do I do this? What do I need to know? What do
they
I
all
need
mean
to,
something. And
they
you go in the
do.
store and you can see on the wall what they mean. You can create your own bracelet. There's actually raw stones that you can pick up. I think amethyst is one of my favorites. And that's what I got when I first went in there. But all of them mean something. And I think that's what we're talking about, intention. And aligning your intention with things that curate and validate that.
Thank you. I want to thank you for coming in today. And the name of the book is Managing My Crown, a workbook for cultivating confidence and coping with change. Michelle Larkin, it's been a pleasure. Like I said, it's been like eating a delicious meal, just feeding me. You have fed my soul. I love this conversation. I love talking about it. I love bringing it to other people. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. You have blessed my life too. And I wish everyone have a great day.
You've been watching the Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. I'm Stephanie Gaines-Bryant. Have a great day.